Immanuel Kant's The Critique of Pure Reason is one of the most significant works in Western philosophy, profoundly influencing subsequent philosophical thought. This magnum opus, first published in 1781 and later revised in 1787, seeks to address fundamental questions about human knowledge, the limits of our understanding, and the nature of reality. Kant's work is dense and complex, aiming to reconcile the rationalist and empiricist traditions of his time. At its core, The Critique of Pure Reason explores how we perceive the world and what we can truly know about it. Kant begins with a preface that sets the stage for his inquiry, discussing the failures of previous metaphysical systems and introducing his revolutionary approach. He posits that the central task of philosophy should be to understand the capabilities and limitations of human reason. Kant argues that previous philosophers had failed to recognize the active role the mind plays in shaping our experiences. He proposes a Copernican revolution in philosophy, suggesting that instead of assuming our knowledge must conform to objects, we should consider that objects must conform to our way of knowing. In the introduction, Kant delineates the distinction between a priori and a posteriori knowledge. A priori knowledge is independent of experience and is known through reason alone, while a posteriori knowledge is dependent on sensory experience. He also differentiates between analytic and synthetic judgments. Analytic judgments are those in which the predicate is contained within the subject, making them true by definition. Synthetic judgments, on the other hand, add something new to the subject and require justification. Kant's primary focus is on synthetic a priori judgments, which are both informative and known independently of experience. He contends that such judgments are possible and necessary for the sciences, particularly mathematics and physics. Kant divides the Critique of Pure Reason into two main parts: the transcendental doctrine of elements and the transcendental doctrine of method. The first part, the transcendental doctrine of elements, is further divided into the transcendental aesthetic and the transcendental logic. The transcendental aesthetic examines the role of sensibility in human cognition. Sensibility refers to our capacity to receive sensory impressions. Kant argues that space and time are the pure forms of sensibility, meaning they are the necessary conditions under which we perceive the world. Space and time are not derived from experience, but are the framework within which all experiences occur. This implies that our knowledge of space and time is a priori. According to Kant, space and time are forms of intuition, which means they are the ways in which our mind organizes sensory data. They are not properties of things in themselves, but of our perception of things. The transcendental logic, which follows the transcendental aesthetic, is divided into the transcendental analytic and the transcendental dialectic. The transcendental analytic focuses on understanding how the mind processes sensory information to produce knowledge. Kant introduces the concept of the categories, which are pure concepts of the understanding. These categories include notions such as causality, substance, and unity, and they are essential for organizing sensory data into coherent experience. The categories are a priori concepts that structure our experiences, enabling us to make sense of the world. Without these categories, our sensory impressions would be chaotic and meaningless. Kant's discussion of the categories leads to the analytic of principles, where he explores how the categories apply to our experiences. He argues that the principles of the understanding are rules that govern the synthesis of sensory data. These principles include the axioms of intuition, the anticipations of perception, the analogies of experience, and the postulates of empirical thought. Each of these principles plays a crucial role in shaping our experience and ensuring that it conforms to the structures imposed by the categories. One of the most significant contributions of the transcendental analytic is Kant's argument for the transcendental unity of apperception. This concept refers to the self-consciousness that accompanies all our thoughts and experiences. Kant posits that this unity is necessary for the coherence of experience. Without it, we would not be able to relate different experiences to a single subject. The transcendental unity of apperception ensures that our various experiences are integrated into a unified self, allowing us to perceive the world as a coherent whole. The transcendental dialectic addresses the limitations and potential errors of human reason. Kant explores how reason tends to go beyond the limits of possible experience and ventures into the realm of metaphysics, leading to various antinomies and illusions. He identifies three main areas where reason overreaches the self, the cosmos, and God. These are the subjects of what he calls transcendental ideas. Kant argues that while these ideas are natural products of reason, they do not correspond to any actual objects of experience. They serve a regulative function, guiding our inquiry and organizing our knowledge, but they cannot be known in themselves. Kant's analysis of the transcendental ideas reveals the antinomies of pure reason, which are pairs of contradictory statements that can both be seemingly justified by reason. For example, one antinomy concerns the finitude and infinitude of the universe. Reason can argue both that the universe has a beginning in time, and that it is infinite. Kant resolves these antinomies by showing that they arise from the misuse of the categories, which apply only to phenomena within the bounds of possible experience and not to things in themselves. Kant also discusses the paralogisms of pure reason, which are fallacious arguments that arise when reason attempts to apply its concepts to the self as a noumenal entity. He critiques the traditional metaphysical arguments for the immortality and substantiality of the soul, showing that these arguments are based on a misunderstanding of the nature of self-knowledge. According to Kant, we can have no knowledge of the soul as it is in itself, we can only know it as it appears to us through inner sense. In his examination of the cosmological and theological ideas, Kant critiques the traditional proofs for the existence of God, such as the ontological, cosmological, and teleological arguments. He argues that these proofs fail because they attempt to apply the principles of the understanding beyond the limits of possible experience. While reason naturally seeks a highest cause or ultimate ground, Kant maintains that such a cause cannot be known through speculative reason. Instead, he suggests that belief in God is a matter of practical reason, grounded in moral considerations rather than theoretical proof. The transcendental doctrine of method, the second main part of the critique of pure reason, addresses the proper use and limits of pure reason. Kant discusses the methods and guidelines for metaphysical inquiry, emphasizing the importance of critical philosophy in avoiding the errors of dogmatism and skepticism. He argues for a disciplined use of reason, one that recognizes the limits of human knowledge and focuses on the conditions under which knowledge is possible. Kant concludes his work by reflecting on the implications of his critical philosophy for metaphysics, science, and morality. He asserts that his critique does not undermine the validity of scientific knowledge or the possibility of metaphysical inquiry. Instead, it clarifies the scope and limits of reason, providing a secure foundation for both science and metaphysics. Kant's critical philosophy aims to establish a balance between empirical knowledge and rational speculation, ensuring that both are grounded in the proper use of reason. One of the key contributions of the critique of pure reason is its resolution of the apparent conflict between rationalism and empiricism. Rationalists, such as Descartes and Leibniz, emphasize the role of innate ideas and a priori knowledge in understanding the world. Empiricists, such as Locke and Hume, argued that all knowledge is derived from sensory experience. Kant's transcendental idealism offers a synthesis of these views, proposing that while all our knowledge begins with experience, the structures of our cognition, such as space, time, and the categories, are a priori and shape our experience. Kant's work also has profound implications for epistemology, the study of knowledge. By distinguishing between phenomena and noumena, Kant highlights the limitations of human cognition. Phenomena are the objects of our experience, which are structured by our sensibility and understanding. Noumena, or things in themselves, are the realities that exist independently of our perception, but are ultimately unknowable to us. This distinction emphasizes the idea that our knowledge is always mediated by the conditions of our cognition, and that we cannot have direct access to the ultimate nature of reality. In the realm of metaphysics, Kant's critique challenges the traditional speculative approaches that seek to extend human knowledge beyond the bounds of possible experience. He argues that many of the questions that have traditionally occupied metaphysics, such as the nature of the soul, the origin of the universe, and the existence of God, cannot be answered through speculative reason. Instead, these questions should be approached with a critical awareness of the limits of our knowledge and the role of reason in organizing and guiding our inquiry. Kant's philosophy also has significant implications for ethics and morality. In his later work, The Critique of Practical Reason, he develops the idea that moral principles are grounded in practical reason, rather than empirical considerations or speculative metaphysics. This idea is foreshadowed in The Critique of Pure Reason, where he suggests that belief in God and the immortality of the soul can be justified on moral grounds, even if they cannot be proven through theoretical reason. Kant's emphasis on the moral use of reason reflects his broader commitment to the Enlightenment ideal of human autonomy and the capacity for rational self-determination. The Critique of Pure Reason has had a lasting impact on subsequent philosophical thought, influencing a wide range of fields, including epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, and aesthetics. Kant's critical philosophy laid the groundwork for the development of German idealism, with figures such as Fichte, Schelling, and Hegel building on his ideas and extending them in new directions. Moreover, Kant's work has been a crucial reference point for various 20th-century philosophical movements, including phenomenology, existentialism, and analytic philosophy. His insistence on the active role of the mind in shaping experience has resonated with phenomenologists like Husserl and Heidegger, who have explored the structures of consciousness and the nature of human existence. Existentialists, such as Sartre and Camus, have drawn on Kant's emphasis on human freedom and moral responsibility. In the analytic tradition, philosophers like Frege, Russell, and Wittgenstein have engaged with Kant's ideas about the nature of logic, language, and the limits of human understanding. Kant's influence extends beyond philosophy to the natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities. His critical approach to the limits of human knowledge has informed debates in psychology, linguistics, and cognitive science, where researchers investigate the structures and processes underlying perception, thought, and language. In political theory, Kant's ideas about autonomy, justice, and the moral foundations of political authority have inspired discussions about human rights, democracy, and global justice. The legacy of the Critique of Pure Reason is also evident in contemporary discussions about the relationship between science and religion. Kant's distinction between the realms of empirical knowledge and moral faith has provided a framework for addressing questions about the compatibility of scientific and religious worldviews. His notion of practical reason as a basis for belief in God has influenced theologians and philosophers who seek to reconcile faith with reason. In summary, The Critique of Pure Reason is a monumental work that addresses fundamental questions about the nature of human knowledge, the limits of our understanding, and the role of reason in shaping our experience. Kant's critical philosophy offers a profound and nuanced account of the interplay between sensibility, understanding, and reason, proposing that while our knowledge is grounded in experience, it is also shaped by the a priori structures of our cognition. His distinction between phenomena and noumena highlights the limits of human knowledge and the need for a disciplined use of reason in metaphysical inquiry. Kant's work has had a profound and lasting impact on subsequent philosophical thought, influencing a wide range of fields and providing a foundation for debates in epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, and beyond. His critical approach to the limits of human knowledge has informed discussions in the natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities, shaping our understanding of the nature of human cognition and the relationship between science and religion. As a seminal figure in Western philosophy, Kant's ideas continue to inspire and challenge thinkers across disciplines, offering a rich and enduring legacy for future generations.